Hi, I'm Nicole Scott from Mobile Geeks, and here I am in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, standing in front of Roy Thomson Hall and the CN Tower. And today, I have been using the Yoga 2 for almost 3 weeks now. So I decided to give you guys my in-depth analysis and review of how this 2-in-1 form factor 13.3-inch device has been working out for me. The Lenovo Yoga 2 Pro is a 13.3-inch Ultrabook with a high-resolution QHD Plus display, which means 3200 by 1800. Most other Ultrabooks in this size come with a 1920 by 1080 display, so this is much, much higher. The display itself is an IPS panel with a 10-point multi-touch. Under the hood, we have options for Core i3, Core i5, and Core i7 U-series processors. These are 4th generation Core Haswell processors, and we have options of RAM up to 8 gigabytes. It's running Windows 8.1 Pro, and it weighs only 3.06 pounds. This is about half a pound lighter than the Yoga 13. On the front, we have a 720p HD webcam, and for storage, we have SSD options of 128, 256, and 512 gigabytes. It comes with Bluetooth 4.0 and Wi-Fi BGN. Taking a walk around the system, if we start at the top, you can see that there is a status LED. We have the power button. We have the forced rotation. If we carry it down further, you can see that there is the anti-rotation. We have a volume rocker, a headphone jack, and a powered USB 2 port. Around the back, we have the 2-in-1 hinge and the vents. Around the left-hand side of the unit, we have the PSU, a USB 3.0 port, a micro HDMI port, and a full-size SD card slot. All right, so let's dive in and take a closer look at the system. Obviously, the big selling feature of the Yoga is the fact that it can go all the way around. This is one of my favorite modes because you can kind of put it as a media player. I like it because I forget that it's my computer and it's just like my TV. I watch a lot of downloaded or online streaming television. And then obviously you can also put it this way, so it can stand up like a tent. One of the things that I do like about it is, because they've kind of put this rubberized plastic here on the edge, they've kind of improved the grip over the 13. So when it's in this mode, let's just put it up there. It really feels quite solid. Like overall, the entire build quality of this machine feels very solid. But one thing that I would like to take a closer look at, is I have mentioned this previously, but one of the reasons I think that I'm really hard on my devices, and you guys should know that by now. But let's just take a closer look at the hinge here. So this is it basically closed. So you can see that it's kind of got this flat form factor. Now, what makes this design a lot sturdier than a lot of the other ones in the market is that this is a 2-hinge system. So if you watch the hinge as I open it up, ooh, right, so it's all rotating off of this one down here. Right, so that opens there, we get around, and then when we finally come around the other side, so let's flip this over here, and then you can see the rotation then starts on this hinge up here. And that's part of the reason why this form factor and this particular design for a 2-in-1 definitely comes out on top for me. Windows 8.1 Pro, which I am quite digging. One of the things that does stand out for this unit is its resolution of display. So it's 3200 by 1800. Now let's just head on over here into settings, go into control panel, then let's go into, oh wait, that's not the best way to go there, sorry about that. Personalization. So then you can choose down here, you can choose display. Right, and then you can go over here to adjust resolution. So now this is set to 3200 by 1800, but I actually prefer working in 2048 by 1152, and let me show you why. So if you take a look at the size of these icons up here, right, they are quite small. So let's just pull this down. Oh, not to 1920. Let's go up a little bit more, right, and so let's say apply. So you'll notice immediately that this got bigger. Now let's keep those changes. And then let's go back to make text and items larger or smaller. Right, so you can actually make it smaller or you can make them bigger. So let's just go over here. So let's just, so that made it huge, right? So let's click it down back to smaller. Let's say apply. But now let's go back to adjust resolution, and I'll show you the reason why I have a little bit of trouble working in 3200 by 1800. And that is just for a couple of like really basic reasons. That there's 3200 by 1800 pixels, obviously. But one of the things that you should be remembering when we're doing this is that your mouse pointer, so I have it set on drag here, so you can kind of see there's a little trail there, so you can see it moving around. That when you're moving it across, and you can see how far my finger's moving. I'll drag down here, right? That's how far it goes. Now, when I first got this machine, I was like, holy crap, something's wrong. Something's really wrong. And I'd never really had such a high resolution display. Now, what I did to kind of make this, like, see how far the pointer's gonna move, is I had to go into, so let's go into control panel. Let's do, where is it? So let's just type in mouse pointer. So mouse. So you see here, I can change it, right? And you can double click, but if you go into pointers, pointer options. Now, a normal Windows 8 machine won't have it set at fast. It'll have it set somewhere in the middle. So let me just drag that down to somewhere in the middle. Let's say apply. Now see the pointer down here with its dragging? Now, look how far it moves during one whole movement. So that's maybe like, you know, 1.5 inches or so. So when you're kind of dragging it along, it takes forever to move all the way across the screen. I mean, you can use the touch screen, but one thing that I have found is when I'm in such a high resolution, well, sometimes I'm not pointing as accurately as I could because there's so many more pixels, it's not quite as accurate. So you see how I'm having a little bit of trouble there, pulling that over all the way to fast, right? But no problem with the mouse pointer. So that's just one thing that you're definitely going to have to do if you're working in HD resolution. Make sure you come into here and make your mouse pointer fast, because initially I was just like, how am I logistically going to move around here? It's going to take me forever each time. That's also why I like reducing the resolution, because I can move the mouse pointer further around. Now, another way around this is to use an external mouse, which I have been doing sometimes, but I like not carrying an extra device, so I'm really trying to figure out the best way just to use the trackpad. So if you are a trackpad user, I would drop the resolution down to 2048 and make sure that you're on fast for pretty much all the settings. So the next thing that I'm going to talk about is the keyboard. I believe that the keyboard on the Yoga 2 Pro is greatly improved. If you can kind of look closely at the keys, you can see that they are quite high. Now, I'm not going to use my nails to type, but they do have like a really good clickiness to them. The other thing that I really like is this keyboard is backlit. Now, the 13 did not have a backlit keyboard, so to me that is a really big improvement. Now, one of the things that is different is the trackpad. It is greatly improved over the previous generation. So we'll put these up side by side. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is this is a significantly smaller trackpad, right? It's a whole centimeter across the top. With the finish on the Yoga 2 Pro, it's a little more silky. I would have preferred if they kept the same size trackpad on the 2 Pro. That is one of the things that I wish that they had done. But if we look at the keyboard itself, now this might be hard to see. You see how this kind of came up in the corner there when I was holding that on the bottom, right? So this is one of the things that they didn't do very well in the original 13, is that the support across the bottom of the unit just wasn't there. So I actually kind of have a janky trackpad a little bit. I do use this quite often in tablet mode, and I do end up walking and typing and walking and doing stuff. Now, if we grab the 2 Pro, you can kind of see this here. So let's do the same thing where we grab the bottom, exact same thing. And this is still clickable, right? So they've definitely improved the overall durability across here, and I really feel that my trackpad isn't going to break on this one because we don't have that same bowing. So one of the things people often talk about when they talk about the Yoga 2 is that when you do put it into tablet mode, that they don't like it when you have the keys on the back, and that the durability of the keys is going to be decreased because you're holding it and pressing it. I haven't had any trouble with the keys breaking. I had trouble with the trackpad. The keys were never an issue for me. And as for how everyone says, oh, it just feels weird when you're holding it, right? The thing for me is I actually like the keys, because when I'm walking around, I kind of find, right, that I'm not grabbing onto them or anything, but I do kind of find that, you know, as they're sitting on my hand, but they definitely are providing a little bit of traction. Now, one of the good things about the Yoga ThinkPad is it actually has a mechanism that when you flip it into tablet mode, the bottom part raises up. So then this part that's just right around the keys, like this depressed area here, for the keys actually will come up. So one of the sacrifices for that mechanism is the thinness of the device, which is why the Yoga ThinkPad is significantly thicker and heavier than this one. But I really don't mind it. I actually kind of like it. So now I have been comparing the Yoga 13 to the Yoga 2 Pro the entire time, but I'm actually going to show you a few of the differences. Now, we looked at the difference in the trackpad, which I think is one of the major upgrades, but also it's about the design. So let's take a closer look at how they've changed the design. So the first thing you're going to notice is that the Yoga 2 Pro is thinner. So it's 0.61 inches versus 0.67. But the big thing for me is the change of the power button. So on the Yoga 13, you have it right here up front. And if you look at the difference of the corner here, how this is flat, right? There's a little bump in here, but this is flat. So they've changed the design of the machine so that it's angled in, so that the buttons aren't flat and flush to your bag or whatever you're putting it in. So sometimes people would complain that their power button would get hit. So now, yes, it is still on the side, right? But if you look, right, it's angled in, right? So here, like I showed you before, we have the LED and the power button. But, you know, sometimes I'm like trying to reach for it and I'm like, where is it, right? So actually, it's more of a feel moment than anything else, because you have the soft touch plastic and then it goes to like a shiny, you know, smooth plastic. So you can actually feel for this button. That's one of the big differences for me. But if we kind of carry on the system, they've changed the side of the PSU. So on the 13 it was over here, now it's on the other side of this one. Now looking at the back, you can clearly see that they've thinned down, that the mechanism is much smaller. The locking mechanism is much smaller, it's much thinner. Overall, the weight as well. So it's 3.06 pounds versus 3.3 pounds. So I mean, that's a pretty big jump in weight loss there for the two units. But looking at the overall dimensions as well, if you kind of see that across the top, there's, you know, it's thinner, it's narrower, right? So there's definitely size-wise, like maybe it's our muscle memory, but when you pick up the 2 Pro, it's just significantly lighter. Another obvious change is, you know, Haswell. And then we have the increase of the hard drive up to 512, which is really, really nice. It was 256 on the Yoga 13. So if we put them into, I guess, tent mode, you can see that the height is actually lower on this one when it's in there. Now, I'm going to, you know, you notice I'm kind of filming I'm at my parents' house right now. Little vacation for me, but I thought that I would get this done because I've had it long enough. So you can see that the glare on the screen, it's not too bad. This room is pretty sunny, but the viewing angles. So if we look at the 13, whoa, what a big difference. I know that's a black background, but it just seems that the viewing angles and the glare on this one are just so much worse. So I actually did a sunlight viewability test of the Yoga 2 Pro outside, so let's go check that out. Now, you can see here the viewing angles in the sun, it's horrible. This is a fingerprint touch disaster, basically. So this is kind of my sunlight viewability test, and this is me actually using the touchscreen. You can see that I do swipe over quite a bit. All right, so now we're going to run a couple of side-by-side basic tests. So this is the Yoga 13 back here. This is the 2 Pro up front. So what about opening web pages? So let's hit IE at the same time. Well, clearly this one is much quicker. All right, so the next test that we're gonna run is an audio test because damn, they really improved it here. So Shambhala's Music Festival in Canada. Sticky Buds had a mix. So let's just hit play.
Now big respect to the Shambhala Massive. From the Forest Grove, bringing the good vibes on.
Okay, that was at full volume. So now we're gonna do the Yoga 2 Pro.
Now big respect to the Shambhala Massive. From the Forest Grove, bringing the good vibes all the time. Man can't stick it.
They have doubled the bass. They've made it twice as loud. I'm really impressed.
And listen, rock out China. Oh, Shambhala, party with my friends in Canada. Oh,
Okay, now let's just go back to the Yoga 13.
man can't stick it.
It's a little more tinny.
Join a musical journey. Also,
It's definitely not as deep.
dance and listen, rock out China. Oh, Shambhala, party with my friends in Canada.
So if you're looking at it from a purely like media player perspective, because you want to use this in intent mode to listen to music or watch movies, wow. All right, so I know I started this video out in downtown Toronto and ending it, my final verdict, in front of a fireplace, a little fireside chat about the Yoga 2 Pro. So I didn't do performance testing and battery life in this video because I already have shot a performance testing video that you can watch right over here. So if you're wondering how the Core i5 version works out, great on games, super snappy on opening web pages like you saw. Haswell is quicker and it's more battery efficient. Since this is a pre-production unit, I didn't want to do hard battery tests on it. But my usage over the past couple of weeks, I would say I'm getting about between like 5 hours and 45 minutes and 6 hours and 6:15, 6.5, depending on what I'm doing. So on the Yoga 13, I was getting between 5 and 5.5 hours. So it makes sense, 20% more, that I'm getting roughly another hour. Now, I didn't want to do hard tests, like I said, pre-production, but so far it looks like there's no bugs, and that's probably what you can expect from battery life when it finally comes out to market next month. Now, I obviously think that you should be upgrading from the 13 to the 2 Pro. The battery life is better, the performance is better, the price point is the same. I mean, obviously, if you're going to choose between the 13 and the 2 Pro, obviously you should get the 2 Pro. It's just a way better machine. So what didn't I like about it? I think that the 3200 by 1800 screen resolution is overkill. They probably could have dropped the price of the machine just a little bit and gone for the 2048 resolution instead. I think that that's way more workable. I mean, Windows 8 or Windows 8.1 is meant to scale for resolution, but I don't work in Metro all the time. So everyone's saying this, it doesn't do anything for my Windows applications. So my Adobe Premiere or my Photoshop, or even Chrome, because that's not an official app. I have to actually change the scalability on the web pages, right? So if I just drop it down, then it's just a lot less hassle, right? So I think they probably could have dropped the price a little bit more if they'd gone for a slightly lower resolution display. I know that everyone on the internet's going to be like, but Nicole, everyone wants the highest resolution display ever. Do they really? I mean, like, how many pixels do you really need? I mean, I think that the 2048 is a perfectly fine resolution. It's already more than HD. So that's the one thing that I think that everyone's gonna love it, but I'm so-so on it. The other thing that I think that could be done better, the other bad thing about the Yoga 2 Pro is the trackpad. It's better, it's not gonna break, but it could have been larger. Like on the Yoga 13, I think they could have made it a little bit bigger. I mean, they have the real estate, why not? But if you have the 13 and you're thinking about upgrading to the 2 Pro, I mean, I just did it. I love it. I totally love it. Can I justify spending another $1,000 on another machine to upgrade for Haswell? Yeah, it's worth it. But if you don't have the money, then probably don't do it. I mean, if you can try to sell your machine and it maybe only costs you $300 or $400 to do the upgrade, then maybe I would totally recommend it. But if you're a first-time buyer and you're choosing between the two, there's not even a question. You should totally go for the 2 Pro. So that's been my 3 weeks hanging out with the machine. I love how quickly Haswell works in comparison to the 3rd generation processor. When it comes to things like video editing, I'm using Adobe Premiere primarily for the more complicated stuff. I use CyberLink Power Director when I'm doing the quicker stuff. The Intel's Video Quick Sync is killer. I'm doing a 5-minute HD video, full 1080p, exported at 13 megabits in like 4 times real time. So basically, well, yeah, basically, right? So a 5-minute video might take like 1.5 minutes, right? So I mean, those are amazing numbers. And the sheer grunt power of the increase of the graphics performance of Haswell on my other applications that don't have Video Quick Sync, like Adobe Premiere or Photoshop, I'm also seeing like I'd say like a 20% increase in how quickly my videos export. I haven't done gaming tests yet. I do have WoW on this computer, but I'm gonna wait till I get back to Taipei to play that, because you guys will just all make fun of me for how crap I am at playing it. So I'll get Sasha to play WoW for you and some other games on here. I'll download Real Racing 2 and a couple of others. So I'll download it, but I'll download a bunch of games. I'll totally do that. I suck at games, so forgive me that I haven't done it yet. I just don't want to be laughed at by y'all. So that was my review of the Yoga 2 Pro. Totally in love with it. Totally think that you should buy it. The keyboard's fantastic. The price point is amazing, and I love, 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 love the form factor. I'm totally a yoga user. So expect more videos from me, as in like another month I'll follow up on how the durability's gone, other things that I found out about it. I mean, when this officially launches in October, there's going to be a suite of software applications that Lenovo is going to launch with it. So one of them is going to be gesture control. There's going to be a chef application. There's a Photoshop one, I think, for touch. So there's actually a few other things. So when the official build comes out and this is coming to market, I will take another look at it and give you it'll probably be like a 8-week review by then. Woo! What in-depth analysis you guys are going to get. So anyways, questions. I will totally answer them in another video. Yeah, so I'm Nicole Scott from Mobile Geeks, taking a closer look at the Lenovo Yoga 2 Pro. Oh, and subscribe to our channel. Let's do it. And like the video. Do it.